Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I did shoot a video on how to do a cam magnet and sensor, and we just did that on Andy's car here, got it all back together. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to put a set of fresh plugs in it, and then we're going to clear the codes, put the scan tool on, take it for a ride, and see if we can get it over 4,500 without it breaking up on us. And if we will, then he's going to get the car back, clean up the engine where there's an oil leak that we've seen, and then drive it a little bit, put it back on the hoist, see where the oil leak's coming from, and then determine what he's going to do at that point. If he's going to have that guy do it or bring it back to me, depending on what kind of time I got. So we're going to play that by ear, but as soon as we can get this stumble issue figured out, then he's good to go. He can start driving the car. He's going to put a couple hundred miles on it, put some fresh gas in, see if that cylinder 2 misfire kind of clears up, see if maybe there is something on the valve that's just kind of causing an issue with it sticking, that maybe it'll break free or clean itself up while we drive it. But if it don't within a couple hundred miles, what he's going to do is put some seafoam in, and then he's going to seafoam the car, and then he'll drive it, put some miles on, see if that clears up, and then we'll go from there at that point. But it wasn't an issue before he parked it, and now it is an issue from it sitting. So I'm thinking that it's got something to do with the valve sticking or hanging up. So it's just, like I said, it's just got to be driven, get cleaned up. So we're going to go ahead, put fresh plugs in it from the start. He does have iridium plugs in it. Told him I wasn't a real big fan of iridium plugs myself. I prefer the 4306 NGK coppers. For 95% of builds out there, that's going to be the plug you use. It's going to work. Obviously your gap is going to depend on how much power and how much boost you're making and running. Anyway, so we're going to get these plugs in and we're going to get going on this car. Wanted to let it run, warm up for a couple minutes here, and then see if we got our issue fixed. I'm hoping so. Go by his house real quick. Here's Andy's house. Gotta give the neighbor a flyby in his own car, right? Why not? He'll be happy to hear the car though. Now he'll know that it's ready to go. Oh, he ain't even outside. I figured he'd walked out by now. Maybe not. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna get back to the house. I'll see you when I get there. So we got the cam sensor swapped. We did the magnet while we were doing the sensor. We stuck 4 new spark plugs in the car, drove it down by his house, and we no longer have the issue where it starts breaking up at 4,500 and just kind of like hitting a rev limiter. So the car drives clean, does great. So he's happy. I finally got my timing belt. That did show up a couple days ago. So we're getting the camshafts and everything ready, and I was looking them over, and I started noticing that these cams actually got some pitting in them that you can see where the coating is coming off, and it's just enough to start grabbing the glove. And the same on this lobe too. You can see it right there on base circle. It's got some marks. And then the lobe's got some marks in them too. This one is actually really concerning, because this one's like running your hand across sandpaper. I looked all the lifters over, and none of the lifters are showing anywhere at all. I mean, they look like the bearing surfaces here, very, very clean. But I mean, it's unfortunate, but regardless, we are going with the 2-liter exhaust cam, so that don't matter. And then we are also, we're just gonna use the stock intake cam. So that engine that I picked up from AJ this weekend, tore the cam out of it. We're gonna get that put over in white rice here. I also got an engine over here. He's got a couple camshafts in it. The lobes looked okay. They don't have any surface rust or anything on them. I'm gonna pull the cams out of this engine, check the lobes over, or check the journals over, make sure that the bearings didn't get all eaten up in there, because that one did eat all 4 rod bearings. I mean, it just annihilated them. So I don't know if any metal made it to the cam journals. I don't see anything in the lifters. I don't see any metal sitting randomly around in the head. So I'm not 100% sure if it got to any of the cam journals or not. I'm gonna take them off, we'll find out, hopefully not. If it didn't, then we're good to go. I can get the engine together on that one, but we're gonna have to play that one by ear. This one's obviously priority right now, so this one's gonna get all the attention up until it's done, or it's to a point where we're waiting for a dyno or we're waiting for a cage. So that's when this one will really start coming in. So the plan tonight is we're gonna get the camshafts in the car, get the valve cover set on it. I'll come back out tomorrow, we'll get the timing belt put on. So what I gotta do first is I'm gonna dunk the rockers and lifters in one valve at a time, and then I'm gonna, or dunk them in these. I'm gonna dunk the rockers and lifters in one valve at a time, and in this oil here. I'm gonna dunk the rockers and lifters in this oil here, one cylinder, one valve at a time. And then we're gonna drop on the cylinder head, get everything set, get some assembly lube in, set the camshafts in, get them spun around to about where they need to be, make sure that we're at top dead on the crankshaft, and then we'll get the cams torqued down, set the valve cover on it. We'll wrap it up for the night. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get these guys soaked and get them set in the head, and then get moving. So it don't seem like a whole lot, but we got the camshafts in, get everything lubed up. You seen me putting the assembly lube on there. That was that green thick stuff that I was pouring all over the camshafts, the rock arms, and the lifters, just to make sure that when we roll it over the first time, that nothing's going to be dry, cause any issues. So make sure that we got good lubrication there until the oil gets there, and then the oil will start to wash that stuff away, and that'll be part of the first oil change we do, because we did have the head off. So what we're probably going to end up doing is we're going to get the oil in there, we're going to put some high zinc in it, we're probably going to run it for a heat cycle, drain it all out, add all fresh stuff in there, and then we'll start putting the miles on and then get this guy ready to go to the dyno. I'm going to get out here tomorrow, pull the cam gears off, get the timing cover on, reset the tensioner and get the idler on, and then we can get the belt on, get everything set, and once we know that we're okay, I can finish up wiring the fuel pump, get some trans fluid in this guy, get the brakes bled, get a seat mounted in it, see if we can start it, maybe run it up through a heat cycle. We'll get all of that assembly lube washed down into the bottom, we'll get the oil changed, make sure that the coolant's still going to be full and topped off, and that we're not going to have any issues with that. So pretty much what I'll end up just doing at that point then is I could just put it out on the road, and then I could set ride height as close as I can, and then we can set tow real quick. Camber should be pretty close on either side, but I'll set tow, take it out on the road, and start getting our braking miles on the turbo. Put it on the dyno, get her tuned up, and then get it back home, get the cage in it, set final ride height, get the actual alignment once we're done, and then go from there. It's just going to be a play of events on what's available first, whether it's dyno or roll cage. So either way, both of them have to happen before we go back to the racetrack. So the sooner we can get everything else done and get it ready, the sooner we're available to get that stuff done. Once everything starts opening up, the faster we'll be able to get back to the racetrack. So hopefully we can get there with this car here before too long. Ooh, actually, I gotta order, well, I can hook everything up as it is right now, I guess. Dang it. I can't really do much. I forgot. I gotta order those fittings from Amazon, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and I'll get those ordered in the morning, because it ain't gonna matter now, but I'll definitely get those guys ordered so I can get my fuel pressure regulator plumbed in. So yeah, I'll have to get that taken care of. So we'll get that done, and then I'll be able to drive it. I should have a filter, but I gotta buy some oil, put the battery in it, get the intercooler pipe on, O2 housing, things like that. But I mean, I do have all that stuff. I have a couple old gaskets that aren't terrible. They're not super wore out, or they're not like broken or deteriorating yet, but they are used. But I could just use some orange silicone, kind of run around them real quick and get the O2 housing on this one, because it's not going to be a huge deal. It's not like it's going to save me from any fumes getting in the car, because I do have a race dump. I don't know if I've showed you guys yet this, but this is the downpipe that we're going to be using on the car, so it's going to dump right under the shifter anyway. I mean, it kind of does matter. We definitely don't want it to fool the wideband, but we'll get that in before we bleed the brakes. I'll try and get the stage and brake in. We'll get that guy mounted and taken care of. And then if I want to change the brakes later on, I can change the lines, pull the lines back through the firewall, and that wouldn't be a problem. But I'm just going to have to pick a good spot to get it through here so I can get the stage and brake back out to my master cylinder. We might end up using that hole. I might make it a little bit bigger. Update on the Supra. They've been working remotely on the tune. They figured out the cam trigger issue with the tune that was written wrong, so they got that dialed in. And now the car, Josh said he took it out and they made a pull. He said 2,000 left, so probably 5,500, maybe 6,000 RPM. But he said he made 14 pounds. So he's got the exhaust done. They've been driving the car. He is still waiting on control arms from Summit, but they're definitely dialing the tune in. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to see what this thing does in the dyno. Hopefully it won't be too long, and we'll get you guys down there and get you some other content, get you out of these same four walls all the time, because I don't know if you guys are sick of looking at the same background, but it does get kind of tiring looking at this literally every day, because I mean, we're not out doing anything. Nobody's racing, nobody's really out doing much, but unfortunately, you know, everything's shut down. Things are starting to open back up, so we're close. It'd be nice if we could be running and ready for the dyno by the time the track's actually open, but until we get to that point, you know, hopefully we're ready. So we're gonna wrap this one up today, guys. You stay safe, stay clean, have a good one, and we'll see you at the track. Thanks.